Welcome to Success Simplified. I'm Mikey Stiller, the CEO and co-founder of Voss Coaching Co. And I'm so thrilled to be the very first one to give you a nice warm welcome to our 5-day live free event. And we are thrilled to be here with you. I would love to know where you're joining us from. And also if you are here because you want the exact blueprint for a massive breakthrough. You know, success really is simple. We just make it more complicated than it needs to be. And there is no one better at simplifying the strategies and philosophies around success than my business partner, Araj Vasugi. So you all are in great hands this week. And before I bring him on, I just want to get through a couple of housekeeping items because we're already getting lots of questions. So first, if you're here with us on Zoom, you are in the right place at the right time. And what I want you to do right now is set aside all distractions. Give yourself the next 90 minutes to really invest in yourself. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb, close out all of your other windows, and really be here and go all in because you're not here by accident. There is going to be a replay from every single day, and the replay will be sent to you two ways. First, it's going to be sent to you from Zoom. And if you can access it that way, great. It's also going to be sent to you by us, hello@vosscoachingco.com, on a separate replay page. So you're going to have a replay. It's going to be available for you until next Friday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern, which gives you almost 2 weeks to enjoy the replay. Go back, rewatch any parts that you missed or you want to go over and over again. And I hope that you all take advantage of that replay and really enjoy it. If you have friends, families, coworkers that you want to get involved in this material or you think would enjoy and benefit from it, go ahead and invite them. This is the perfect thing to invite them to so that you guys are talking the same language and you are in a really good environment for your own success. All right, now I'm going to bring on the man of the hour, the one that we're all here to see. Araj, how are you, my friend?
Great, Mikey. How are you? Great to be here.
I am great. It's great to see you too. You know, I am really, really excited for this event because like I said a second ago, I really do think that we all make it way too complicated and you're so good at simplifying it. So I'm excited to see what you get into today.
Well, I'm really excited for today. I think if I look back 17 years, I've been doing this for that long, actually the right way. And once I simplified everything started working in my favor. And that's what I want to do here. I was meeting with my coaches before we started. And I told them, I said, if you really look at success, it comes down to a few simple disciplines done over a long period of time. That's all it is. But and I told them this, I said, if you think you can skip the processes, you're going to continue just stagnating. The process is what creates massive results. And we're going to get in through them throughout the week. But we want to do them with a certain expectation in a certain way. That's when the game changes. So I'm really looking forward to it. But before we start, what I would like to do is a belated happy Mother's Day to everybody. Moms are so important to me. I lost my mom a few years ago, and I owe a lot to her, and mothers are so exceptional. To you, Mike, happy Mother's Day. I have a great wife who's an incredible mother. So to all the moms out there, you guys do such an amazing thing. So I wanted to wish everybody a happy Mother's Day.
Oh, thank you, Araj. And I want to echo that as well. Also, what I would love is, at the beginning, I asked everybody to put aside all their distractions and go all in. I would love to know from you, what can everyone do to make the absolute most out of the next 5 days? And then I'm going to let you jump into the lesson.
Yeah, well, we've got to decide who we're going to be. It sounds so simple, but that's the key. Until we decide, nothing changes. And you want to put your phone on Do Not Disturb over the next 5 days during our sessions. When you are focused, you're going to pick up the ideas. And I don't just want you to pick them up. I want you to execute. One of the things that I pride Voss Coaching Co. in is we don't do the fake work with our clients. We do the real deep internal work. And when my life changed, Mike, I changed the way I was working. I changed the way I was being mentored, and everything changed. And there's a lot of people who come to our events and they come month after month, which is fine. I'd love to keep creating impact for them. But the real intentional work happens by doing the deep work, that honest work. Last week, this time we did an event. We only do a couple times a year. It was our Elevate Mastermind group. There was a group of about 16 people in a room with us, and they've transformed, but they started at an event like this. They transformed so dramatically. And my goal is for every single person on this event to create a massive quantum leap for themselves. I think it's so ridiculous that only 1% to 3% of the population really create big results when 100% should. So I want you to decide right now that you are going to be at the end of the year so proud of what you did the second half of the year and really create the life the way you want to live. That's my intent for everybody.
Perfect. Well, let's get right into it.
All right, great. All right, well, let's start. You guys are in for a treat. I'm giving you 17 years of really putting this philosophy into action. Now, I can brag about this philosophy because I feel like I had the greatest mentor in the world. And I've had a few mentors along the way that had such a big impact on me that I really learned how to implement this. And I'm going to give you everything that I have to set you up for significant success. Now, I want you to earn more money. I want you to enjoy more freedom, and I want you to live the life you were destined to live. But to earn more money, you're going to have to take yourself on and change some programming. What you're getting currently in your results is what you're wired for. So you're never going to be able to enjoy more freedom if you don't have more money. And if you're going to live the way you're destined to live, you want to be emotionally free. You don't want to have any constrictions. And we're never going to live the way we want to live holding back. So I want you to let go from this moment and say, I am going to go all in and stop protecting myself from winning. A lot of people are protecting themselves. They want more, but they're afraid of failure. They're afraid of disappointment. So they're always protecting themselves from the person they want to become. And I want you to release that right now. Now, I want you to think of your dream and make this very moment the day that you committed to your dream. Right now, I want you to understand you don't need to know how it's going to happen. It doesn't matter how long it's going to take because you're going to spend the time anyway. I want you to decide right now that from this very moment, I'm going to step into my future self and I am going to live my dream starting today. Now, why I say starting today, everything happens in the now. Big things happen right now, not 6 months from now, not 8 months from now. They happen what we're doing in this present moment. Now, as I said earlier with Mikey, I really pride ourselves when we work with our clients in our elite coaching programs because it's not a cookie cutter program. It's real intentional work. It's the real work that is going to show you how to get from where you are to where you want to go. And I want you to go do that work because that's where the freedom is created. So let's start out by measuring some real critical questions. I want you to write this in your notes. Where am I currently winning? Every one of you is winning in some area of your life. And I want you to look at that area and then ask yourself, why am I winning there? You're going to know why you're winning because there's a certain level of habits and expectations, and there's a certain mindset in that area. Now, this is, I think, one of the most important questions we can start each day. What is wise for me to let go of that I'm attached to? If we're ever attached to anything, it's creating a significant amount of resistance, and it's going to constantly own us. So we want to let go of any resistance we have. Now, here we go, resistance. What are you resisting? What are you holding on to that no longer serves you? Is it, I'm not good enough? Is it, well, I've tried this for many years and it's never worked for me? Let go of the resistance, because when you're holding on to the resistance, you're sending out a counter intention. And we want to set out really good intentions. An intention is a frequency of thought. Weak intention, weak frequency. I started out with an intention for all of you. Let's commit this very moment that you're going to live your dream. Now, if you're still holding on to resistance and trying to protect yourself, you just created a double binding message or a counter intention that's going to block everything necessary for the fulfillment of your dream. I want you to let go. I want you to completely open up your heart and start getting in the habit of owning that if one person can do it, I can do it. But we've got to stop being attached to things that no longer serve us. And now, are you going to fail? Well, I fail every day. So I feel like if you're not failing on a daily basis, you're not going after something big enough, because the failing is what's going to create the big wins. But let's make a committed decision right now. All of you know what you're resisting. You're holding on to it. You're letting the outside tell its story about yourself. And I want you to let go of it this very second. Now, when we talk about simplifying success, success is so simple. Failure, there's a million ways to failure. But success is just a few simple choices. We have to, number one, decide exactly what I want more than anything else in the world. Number two, determine the price I have to pay. What is the price I have to pay? That's going to be discipline. That's going to be surrounding myself with the proximity of somebody else's wisdom that they've already demonstrated that they could educate me. That is raising your standard, upgrading your philosophy, having a vision that is really worthy of you. So we have to determine the price you're going to have to pay, number two. Number three, we have to choose, am I willing to pay the price? Now, you may be sitting there and you may say, listen, I'm not willing. That's fine. You don't have to do it. You have free will to do whatever you want. But I will tell you, if you know what you want and you're willing to pay the price, success is going to come effortless. Now, if you're saying right now, I know what I want, I'm willing to pay the price, but I'm not willing to get out of my comfort zone, you're not willing to pay the price. I'm not willing to change my attitudes. I'm not willing to change my habits. You're not willing to pay the price. Willing to pay the price means it's going to take whatever it takes, and you're willing to lean into that. Now, success is never a straight line. It's a roller coaster of a bunch of wins, a bunch of losses. But the losses are so minute if you compare it to the wins. Success is never linear. It's never a straight line up. It's a roller coaster. You're constantly going up and down, and you're course correcting along the way. So we want to understand that. A lot of people freeze when they start winning, they have adversity, they stop. Then they say, no, I better stop. I better play it safe. I better change my goal to lesser goals. A huge mistake. An absolutely gigantic mistake, because right away you just chipped away at your self-esteem and you said, I do not feel like I'm worthy of the big goal. Now, failure is one of the best teachers. The millionaire mindset embraces failure and pivots forward. I was in Dallas a few weeks ago, and my son was in this competition, and I was watching him, and right away, he was in this robotics national championship, and his robot wasn't starting. And I looked at his face, it literally dropped. And my son has been in a great environment, a lot of love, a lot of self-esteem. But he was like every kid, like all of us, we think failing is so bad. So I walked over to him. I put my hand around him and I said, nothing you can do. Let's focus on the next event. We're driving to this event I did in Dallas, though. And I was telling my wife and a great player on our team, JR, who does all our social media. And I said, you know what's interesting? I was watching my son and I said, that used to be me. That's every one of us growing up. We put so much attention on failing and losing, and it like demoralizes us. I said, we want to have a great relationship with losing. And I educated my son, not just then, that night, I said, listen, I said, son, you're never going to achieve great things if you have a bad attitude when you lose. I said, the losses are going to create the biggest wins. That's a philosophy my kids know because I'm constantly teaching them this. But us as adults have to go and rewire our philosophy, change it to understanding failing is not a bad thing. It's a great thing because the big win is right around the corner. And I want you to ask yourself, what is my relationship with failing? Do I have a great relationship with it? And I don't want this to be intellectual. I want it to be on the emotional side. You'll know right away emotionally what your relationship to it is. Because if we're going to create success, you're going to have to understand you're going to learn a lot more in your losses than your wins. Now, what is the biggest enemy of success? Complexity. Complexity, we're making it harder in our mind. Everything is hard. Complexity is the enemy of execution. I'm doing 10 things that I say I'm going to do every day instead of 3 things in a great way. Less is always more. Burn that in your philosophy. That will change the game. What I've discovered, the easy way is always the right way. The most simplest way to get to the outcome is always the right way. That's why success is so simple. It's just a few decisions done over 1,000 times over several months are going to create the big results. It's the little things compounded over time that create the big results. Now, how do we start winning? We start stacking small wins every day. If you do little successful things every day, you're going to create a quantum leap. My mentor used to tell me, one positive act every day is going to create a significant amount of abundance in your life. Just one positive act. See, we've got to start putting ourselves in a neutral state and understanding that you could course correct throughout the day. But if we start stacking 2 wins a day, 3 wins a day, 3 mini wins, I'm not talking about this gigantic win. It's the little wins that turn into the gigantic wins. And that's what's going to create your quantum leap. Now, I want you to accept this idea right now. I want you to burn it in your mind that you can create your own economy right now. But in order to create your own economy, you're going to define what is my economy that I would love to have. And I want you to own this. And I want you to accept this on an emotional level. If I went back to 2007, no, actually before that, 2006, I heard this from my mentor. He wasn't my mentor yet. And I was sitting in this room and I was like, oh my God, that is the best idea. You can turn your annual income into your monthly income. You can create your own economy. I just fell in love with the idea. Well, I've done this multiple times over, and so can you. But I want you to allow it to see deep inside of you and define the economy that you want to create. Anything we define, we can measure. And when you do, you're going to be making such an impact in the marketplace. But understand this, freedom demands personal transformation. I say this to every client I work with. When I created freedom in my life, that's all I ever wanted was freedom. When I was starting this, I was really stuck. A lot of you know my story, but some of you don't. I lost my job 3 weeks before my wedding. And my mentor and I had a mutual acquaintance. And he said, I want you to talk to my friend. And I said, sure. And it ended up being Bob Proctor. Bob gets on the phone with me. He says, well, tell me a little bit about your story. Tell me a bit about your situation. I said, well, I just lost my job. I'm getting married in 3 weeks. And I don't want to go back into the corporate world. And he said, well, what is it that you want? And I said, I'm not really sure. I know I want to live a life of freedom. I know I want to do something I'm passionate about. He said, so you do know what you want. And he said, your goal is freedom. And I fell in love with this goal. And he said, here's the deal, though. You have to do exactly what I tell you to do for 1 year. And I said, I've never done anything anyone's told me to do. I'm a great starter and a terrible finisher. I remember it like it was yesterday. And he said, it's because you've never gotten the right direction. But why I'm telling you this story, I fell in love with the idea of freedom, and it seeped deep inside of me. That's all that was on my mind. And that's when everything started to change. But I could look back at what really changed was I changed. And I realized that freedom was the effect, the cause was personal transformation. And we've got to commit to transform. We've got to commit to doing that deep internal work. We've got to commit to having a great mentor in our life that's going to show us the way. We've got to commit to getting out of our comfort zone, because that's where personal transformation happens. Now, one of the best ideas I had ever gotten from the very beginning, and this freed me up, that my mentor told me, you're the only problem you'll ever have, and you're going to be the only solution. I'll never forget it. It was like a weight off my shoulder, where I stopped making excuses to the outside world. I stopped blaming everybody else. And I really accepted this as part of my philosophy. And once I accepted it, it changed the direction of my whole life. We've got to understand, we go with the direction we face. Our destination is always determined by direction. So if I asked you right now, what direction are you going, would you know? Well, that's what putting yourself in proximity with great mentors are going to do. They're going to give you the great direction. Results don't change overnight, but our direction did. My life changed literally overnight because my direction changed overnight. Because I started taking ownership that I was the only problem and the only solution I was ever going to have. Now, understand this. The only true competition in the infinite game is yourself. It's beating your personal best. You're not competing against me. I'm not competing against you. You're not competing against other people in your industry. It's just every day, it's you versus you. And when we play the infinite game, that's the game of freedom. When we play the finite game, that's the game of the ego. That's the game of restriction. I want you to run your own race. How do you want to live? And that's the game you want to start playing against. Now, success is never permanent and failure is not fatal. Like if you're really winning right now, understand you're in the most vulnerable position. Why are you in the most vulnerable position? Because complacency comes in. We want to set the next goal. And if you're really losing right now, understand it's not over. Understand a few changes compounded over time are going to create massive success. And I love this quote by Churchill, because success is never permanent and failure is not fatal. If I stopped doing the things that created my success over all these years, almost 2 decades now, I would go back and be failing. And so once you get a taste of success, you want to keep creating more and more of it, because life becomes so amazing. You're impacting so many people. Now, let's look at that part on failure. And I want you to understand this. Just because you couldn't do something last year doesn't mean you can't master it this year. When you make an irrevocable, committed decision, this is how I'm going to live, this is what I'm going to do, you're going to change the game. And I always tell people, they say, well, I had this goal a year ago of earning $100,000 a month and I never did it. I said, well, let me ask you this. Are we comparing apples to apples? Were you committed last year like you are now? Well, no. Were you willing to get the right direction? No, I was going to do it on my own. Are you willing to take action steps out of your comfort zone? Yes. Were you willing to do that last year? And they say, no. Well, you can't compare the two. The only thing you have to observe is, am I committed at an all-in level? If you are, you're going to set yourself up for success. Now, I want you right now to let go of all your doubts and suspend disbelief willingly. If one person can create great success, anybody can. And I'm telling you this right now, anybody can create great success. I was in a room last week, I was telling you about it, our Elevate Mastermind event. And one person in there, last year this time, this person was very stuck. This year this time, the person is 10x their income, 10x their self-esteem. And I said, what changed for you? She said, you got me to do the deep work and gave me the exact direction. How could somebody go from winning to losing in such a short amount of time? Because success is simple. We've got to start accepting that idea, but we've got to let go of our doubts. I love the book U Squared. If you haven't read it, you want to read it. But Price Pritchett says, if you're going to doubt anything, doubt your doubts. I want you to let go of your doubts and suspend disbelief willingly right now. Just let it go. Let go of that attachment. That's another form of attachment, is doubt. Let it go. Doubts are just your old conditioning. And bet on yourself right now. There is no one better to bet on than you. And you have to have the courage to choose discomfort over comfort. And when you do that, you bet on yourself. Do you know how? No. If you knew how, you'd already be doing it. But you're going to be rewarded because you're going to be on that extra mile. Because do you know there's only a small percentage of people today who are going to be betting on themselves and willingly getting out of their comfort zone. Now, if I could share, there's several quotes that really changed my life. But when I was first starting this quote I became every word of it. Dr. Kenneth Blanchard says there's a difference between being interested and committed. When you're interested in something, you do it only when it's convenient. When you're committed to something, you accept no excuses, only results. I transformed this quote into myself. I used to do what was convenient. I used to gather information. But when I read this quote, I became every word of it. I said, no shit, no kidding, no more excuses. You're going all in and you're going to do whatever it takes. And I was playing with this quote for several years. And I want you to stop playing the small game when you're interested. Interest is a dangerous place. That's when we're always doing what's convenient. When you're all in, you make that irrevocable decision, the game changes in your favor. But everything starts with decision. There's not going to be one day this week that I don't talk about decision. Nothing happens until you make an irrevocable, non-negotiable, all-in committed decision that you're going to live your dream. And if you're not, you're wasting your time. You're just gathering information. Gathering information is not going to create the big jumps. I want you to shoot up like a rocket, and that's what decision does. I want every outcome to be done before you even start. But without a decision, there is no change. There is no transformation. There is no freedom. There is no unleashing your talent. There is no reaching your potential. But understand, this week is not about me. I do this every day. This is about you versus you. Who do you really want to become? Who are you pretending to be right now? I want you to step in to who you really are. Now, you are infinite, and we want to accept this. This is a big idea. It was a big idea when I learned this. There's no end to where you can take yourself. Every cell of your being is absolutely perfect. And you want to start operating from the real you, the infinite you, that most amazing genius inside of you. And we've got to let that person out. I'll teach a lesson on identity later in the week. And I always say, there's another person inside of you that's dying to come out. Why do you think you're on this event this week? Because your soul is saying, come on, there's more for us to do. Well, that's that infinite side of you that never likes being restricted, never likes playing small. And we want to start getting to understand who you are. Because if you're going to transform your life, you have to get comfortable with yourself. You've got to start understanding how important allowing is. And you've got to understand who you are. Now, this is one of the most important lessons I ever learned from my mentor. And for the first 1,000 times of watching him teach me this, I never got the importance of it. And then I finally got it. And that's how I think about everything now. But understand this. This is you. You have three parts of your mind. You have a conscious mind, a subconscious, and a body. Let's look at this. Your conscious mind creates 2 to 4% of your results. That's why I say stop gathering information and start internalizing it. Your subconscious mind creates 96 to 98% of all your results, perceptions, and behavior. Your subconscious mind is your powerhouse. And then you have a body, the third part of your personality. But understand, the single most powerful asset we all have is in our mind. When it is trained well, when we are dumping in how we really want to live to that subconscious part of ourselves, we are going to create enormous wealth literally overnight. It's not overnight, but it almost feels like it. It happens so quickly. But let's understand, how do we use our conscious mind? Our conscious mind is our thinking mind, and it's our educated mind. Our subconscious mind is our emotional mind. Your conscious mind is where your intellect resides. Now, think about this for a second. Now, the conscious mind is your thinking mind. Why would you ever think something you don't want? Let's look at that for a second. That's somebody who could be studying this for decades, but they're still not in control of their thinking. Why? Because they don't understand who they are. That's why. Why was I losing for 3 years? Because I didn't understand who I was. I didn't do the deep internal work to call myself out on my BS and start catching my double binding messages. Now, your conscious mind, you could choose any idea you want. Why would anybody choose small ideas for themselves? Because they don't understand they're infinite. They don't understand that if one person can do it, they can do it. They're letting outside results control them. Your conscious mind, you can accept or reject any idea. See, we've got to get so good, and you want to make this one of your processes starting now, that from this moment on, this very second, I am going to accept and reject ideas from my future self, from the person who already achieved the life I wanted. That's where discipline is created. A lot of people think discipline is their activity. Discipline is your thinking in a certain way. And that's why accepting or rejecting is going to save you from infecting your subconscious mind with limiting beliefs, infect you with other people's energy that are focused on lack and limitation. Your conscious mind, you can originate any idea. This is where we want to build a beautiful, enormous image of how we want to live. And that all happens in your conscious mind. What else does your conscious mind do? I want you to look at your results right now. Your conscious mind starts how your results are formed. Your conscious mind controls your emotional state. So if you're always up and down, you're up and down in your thinking in the conscious mind. Your subconscious mind only speaks on emotion. It has no idea what's good or bad for you. It only knows what you give it. It is your silent partner. Your subconscious mind is impersonal. It must accept. So you got to be very careful of what you give it. It has no ability to think. Your conscious mind is the part of you that can think. Your subconscious mind can never reject, so it doesn't know whether you're joking or not. It only knows what you're giving it. And it does not know the difference between what's real or what's imagined. This is why Einstein said logic takes us from A to B. Our imagination takes us everywhere. See, what are you thinking about? We want to get in control of our thinking. And if I told you one of them, these three right here are so huge. I could choose whatever I want. So I am not going to choose to let other people control my thinking. I am not going to choose to let my results dictate who I am. I'm going to get so good at accepting and rejecting ideas from my future self. And I'm going to build an enormous image of myself. See, we've got to understand us before we're going to create success. This you want to be able to teach somebody so they can understand it. That's how you know you'll understand it. Now, we have to guard our mind. We have on average 80,000 thoughts a day. And if you look at your results will tell you what your dominant thinking has been. Guard your mind, get so good at accepting and rejecting ideas, it'll change the game. Now, what is the highest form of mastery? These are 3 rules of success that you have to really fall in love with. that we all perform according to our standards. So we want to raise our standards. Your income always reflects your identity. So if you're earning $100,000 a year right now, that's not because that's what you're capable of, but that's because how your identity is conditioned right now. And you will never outperform your story. Your story is a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you just upgrade your standard, upgraded your identity, and upgraded how you see yourself by building an enormous image, you're going to change what you see in your life. Now, I love this quote by Socrates. He says, the secret of change is to focus all your energy on not fighting the old, but on building the new. What did we talk about? Resistance. When we're in resistance, we're fighting the old. We're trying to force. When we're allowing, we build a new model. We want to build a new model that is absolutely enormous for you. Now, everything starts with habits and attitudes. How do we start a good habit? I want you to ask yourself that. You have to have a desire to start a good habit. And then you want to ask yourself, what is my desire right now? Do I have a definite want? That's going to start the game. What are my current habits? Look at your current habits and then ask yourself, are they serving me or holding me back? Everything is about habits and attitudes. Now, let's look at world-class. World-class individuals have amazing habits. Now, I want you to just ask yourself these two questions. What habits no longer work with the life I want to create? Maybe it's your excuses. Do you have an excuse? Do you say, I'm going to build this business and you don't put any energy into it? That's a habit. And then ask yourself, what habit must I install to make this the best year of my life? Now, the research tells us it takes 66 days on average to install a habit. I think it's more like 90 from what I've observed. Now, you could do them quicker. But what is that one pinnacle habit that would bring all your other habits up? That's the habit you want to start working on right away. Maybe it's how you see yourself. Maybe it's money. Look at the money you're earning. That's a habit. Earning money is a habit. Believing in yourself is a habit. What is that one habit right now that is your pinnacle habit that will bring everything up? That's the habit that came in your mind that you want to work on right away. Now, habits do not restrict freedom, they create it. I want you to imagine you were on top of your mountain and you were living the way you wanted to live. Well, you are in control. You're playing the infinite game now. But understand, how did I create that infinite game? My habits. Put a lot of attention, and every time you practice a good habit, you're telling yourself who you really are. You're building self-respect. You're lifting up your identity. You're transforming your standard. Every time you practice a good habit or a bad habit, you're telling yourself who you think you are. Now, build a new model of your future self. I want you from this moment on to understand you can have anything you want. Anything that you're willing to commit to, you can have. But from this point on, everything comes from your future self. If your future self would say no to something, you say no. If your future self would say yes to a risk, you say yes to it. Your future self is a lot wiser than who you currently are in your present self. It's a lot more aware. But we want to build a new model of your future self. Now, how do we do that? We have to understand a few questions. Number one, what do you really want? Do you know what you really want? A lot of people don't know what they want. They know what they don't want. But guess what? If that's you, what's the opposite of what you don't want is what you want. Make it so simple. Don't try to overcomplicate it. What do I really want? And number two, what experiences would I like to have? What would I like to experience? Would I like to work my passion? Would I like to experience great trips? Would I like to experience a higher level of proximity with the people going in my direction? Write these down. Don't just say I know, write them down. What are the experiences I would like to have? Understand this. Your dominant experience you're having right now is exactly what you've asked for. Now, some of you would say, no, I want more. You're getting exactly what you want. You're getting exactly what type of work you're willing to put in. So understand everything has a cause, everything has an effect. And then ask yourself, what changes would I like to make if it was absolutely impossible for me not to make them? Those top few are going to be the ones you want to attack right away. And then you say, why are your goals important to you? We're going to get into goals in the next few days. But your goal has to have a big why. If the why is not stronger than the why not always wins. And if your goals are not important to you right now, you're going to most likely be going on a roller coaster up and down and just be getting your results by the law of averages. Now, here's the big one. What kind of person do I need to become to achieve all that I want? This is the most important question out of all of them. What are the characteristics of the person I want to become? And you write them down and you build that into your new conditioning. Now, this is so vital that you make your future your magnificent obsession. We want to fall in love with our future. I want you to have a want that is so passionate to you. If it's not a magnificent obsession, if it's not always on your mind, if it's not in love with, you're going to stop. So ask yourself, is my want right now my magnificent obsession? Because if it is not, you're going to choose the old life. You're going to choose comfort over discomfort. You're going to choose comfort over freedom. But when you choose and build a magnificent obsession, I want this so badly. I want to help people at the highest level. I want my business to grow because the more it grows, the more I've grown. The more it grows, the more people I impact. Now you're stepping in and falling in love with service, and you're willing to work on yourself. Service doesn't just happen. It happens with your awareness. And that's how you're going to create a world-class life. Now, everything starts with your philosophy. What is your philosophy? I want you to ask yourself, when I say that, do you even know what I'm talking about? Your philosophy is your automatic underlying thinking. It is your creed. And you want to start living with the philosophy that I want to live with. What is the philosophy you want to live with? I told you, we go with the direction we face. What faces us in a direction? Our philosophy does. Right now, every one of you has a philosophy. You may not know what it is, but you're going to change it. I always tell this story about philosophy. When I was in the corporate world, I got the news that my company was selling. But before this, the very day before, I only reported to the president of the company. And I asked him, I said, I keep hearing these rumors that you're selling. Are you selling? He said, Arash, you would be the first to know if we were selling. I was vice president of sales at that time. And the very next day I walked in, they sold. And I remember I was so angry because I had been lied to. And I'm walking out to my car. And I remember this voice said, if you're going to be mad at anybody, be mad at yourself. And that moment, my philosophy changed because I chose to stay there. Nobody forced me. And I realized that I was the only problem, the only solution, like my mentor told me that next day. But what is the philosophy that you want to live with? And understand your philosophy is creating your life. Your philosophy is your underlying belief system. It's deciding how you're living right now. That's a philosophy. Are you playing the and game? Philosophy. Are you playing the or game? Philosophy. Do you have a philosophy that everything you touch turns into gold? That's a philosophy. Do you have a philosophy the outcome is done before I start? That's my philosophy. And so do you have a philosophy that you could do better? We can always get better. That's my philosophy. I'm giving you ideas. And so we've got to understand, what is our philosophy? Our philosophy, everything starts with our vision. What do we want? Your vision creates your philosophy. Your philosophy creates your standard. Your standard is what initiates abundance into your life. Your standard creates your story. Your story creates your identity creates your results. But if we don't define our philosophy, if we don't continue to upgrade it, we're never going to upgrade the results. And when you do, your life is going to change so much for the better. But we want to understand your philosophy is what is going to build your disciplines, your standards, and ultimately your life. No, there is no freedom without discipline. There is no standard without discipline. There is no goals being achieved without discipline. There is no actions in a certain way without discipline. But guess what? We've got to make a great relationship with discipline in our philosophy. And a new life philosophy requires you to not let your old programming control you. It requires you to think outside the box. As you do this, everything is going to change. Now, when you're looking at your philosophy, as you're transforming, it's transforming. It is ever moving, evolving, and changing. And as you become more aware, deliberate, and intentional, your philosophy just goes through the roof. But guess what else goes through the roof? Your identity. What else goes through the new roof? Your story. And all of a sudden, I can accept bigger goals. I have such a bigger idea of myself. Your philosophy is so important. Work on it, define it, create a kick-ass philosophy, and go impact the world that you're capable of. Have a philosophy of beating your personal best from yesterday and let go of your past. Let go of attachments. That is a great philosophy. Now, we've got to understand right now, I want you to create world-class programming. I want you to have a program you're so proud of. Look at your results. They will tell you how you're wired right now. Am I wired for failing? Am I wired for success? Am I wired for settling? Am I wired for stretching? So we've got to understand how our programming works. First of all, to change it, we need explosive thinking. I love this slide. I mean, when we're explosive, we're thinking in a certain way. We're going by instinct, not intellect. Your instinct is 10 times more powerful than your intellect. Now, when the program is in charge, the analytical mind communicates to the conscious mind. Let's play it safe. That's what happens. It is the opposite of explosive thinking. It's passive thinking. Now, I want you to look at this slide, programming. Your program is a virus code that is constantly going on every day. 95% of our day is run by our program, unless we become intentional, unless we have a big want to change the program. And I want you to understand, to change the program, it starts with a process of transformation from whom and what you are to who and what you want to become. That's where the work is. That's the deep intentional work. The work is you. The results are always a reflection of you. And I want you to look at this. I want you to look at your results from a neutral state right now. The results always tell us what is going on inside of us. They always tell us what is the image we think of ourselves. Now, nothing happens to you. It happens from you. Wealth is coming from you. Your income growing is coming from growing inside. So I want you to look at your results right now. Are you happy with them? Change them. You could change them in a second, but don't let it control you. Your results are telling you how you're programmed right now. They always tell us how we're programmed. And ask yourself this: am I looking for problems or am I looking for solutions? You know, when I ask this question, I'm always looking at what's wrong. I'm always looking at what's missing. The winners are always looking at what is the opportunity here. This is a great problem because it's going to create a bigger jump for me. So am I looking for problems or solutions? Now, when we're changing our programming, we're not going to change it properly if we don't have a big goal that motivates us. So the goal drives how I'm going to wire myself. So I want you to have a goal so big in your mind that there's a big why for you to change your programming. And it's time to build a new model. It's time to change the story. It's time to change the standard, because it is time to change your life. We don't know how long we have. We get to do this thing we call life every day. And in order to create better results, a bigger life, better business, better relationships, it's time to build a new model. Now, this is for the person right now, for really anybody, but if somebody's going through a divorce right now, it's time to build a new model. If somebody's business is just not making any moves, it's time to create a new model. If you're really making moves, but you're like, I'm just getting started, there is so much better for me, it's time to build a new model. You are never going to get results. I will never get results beyond my level of thinking. That's the program. And if you haven't created a quantum leap over a 6-month period, understand you haven't changed the program. You're just gathering information in the conscious mind. You're using 2 to 4% of your programming, so you're not going to create the big jump. We want to create a massive quantum leap for you. The currency for attracting what we want in our life is always our thinking. But what did we just say? We're going to make explosive thinking part of our new philosophy. I'm only going to accept ideas that my future self would accept. I'm going to build the discipline in my mind and not let the outside world or my mind discipline me. Now, everything in the program and a shift of a program starts with, what do I really want more than anything else in the world? I want you to put your 1,000 wants, and I want you to focus on the one want that would have the greatest impact in your life, that would change and transform you. What is that? Remind yourself, wants create abundance, needs create lack and limitation. We always come from, what do I want? Now, we have to understand your wants come from the essence of who we are. It's in your subconscious mind. That's where your infiniteness is. That's where your genius is. And your genius communicates to your conscious mind and says, hey, Joe, you really want this. Now, Joe's job is to accept it. When we accept that from Joe's future self with his imagination, Joe's job now is saying, the want is 100,000 or more every month. Joe's going to say, well, I've never done it. But Joe is aware enough to say, my job is to accept it. See, most people, they get a want from their subconscious mind and they say, no, that's not for me. That would be too hard. They bring in and reject the idea right away. Our job is to accept that idea. We accept the idea of 100,000 a month, and we have to turn it back over to our subconscious mind. How do we turn it over? Repetition. We get emotionally involved with our want, and we keep telling ourselves every 3 hours. I do this with my elite clients. I'm going to do it with you right now. Put an alarm on your phone every 3 hours, and every 3 hours you put your goal in the present tense and you repeat it over and over again for 2 minutes. And then you visualize it for 1 minute. Guess what you're doing? I am so happy and grateful now, in Joe's case, that I'm earning 100,000 or more every month, and I love it. Well, the repetition of doing it over and over and over again turns the goal into a desire. Once it's a desire, it's not just a desire in your subconscious mind. It's a desire in universal subconscious. The whole universe conspires on your behalf to make it a reality. You alter your vibration, your results change. But here's the thing. Are you willing to do the repetition 10,000 times? It may be 10,000. Are you willing to do it? It may be 4,000 times. It depends how your program is set. See, I have clients who really make it happen. I have others who don't do anything. I have some clients who just like to be around it, gather information. They're wasting their potential because they're not willing to build discipline. And you know if I'm talking to you, because I want you to win. If one person can do it, you can do it. But are you committed to doing it? That's what's going to change your program. We've got to stop screwing around with ourselves. We've got to start doing the disciplines and practicing the processes until you rewire yourself for your goal. That's when everything changes. But who am I? Who do I need to become? These are the two most important questions. Am I becoming that person? I want you right now to, for the best of your ability today, just become that person. Just today, just for today, do that. And then you do it again tomorrow. Do it one day at a time, and you're going to change the game. But we're never going to change the program if we don't understand it. A paradigm is a mental program that has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior. And understand this, almost all of our behavior is habitual. Like right now, even the ideas I'm giving you, you're either accepting them or rejecting them. If you're aware, you're accepting them. If you're aware, you know that you could do this. If I can do it, you could do it. But understand, every time you want something greater, there is a brick wall in front of you that is your paradigm. And that is the fear that is driving you. And every time you want something greater, you're saying, I really want to turn my annual income into my monthly income. It's a wish or a hope. I don't make a decision because I'm protecting myself. I have resistance. What if it doesn't happen? I don't want to feel disappointed. right away, you stopped yourself from going to where you could go right away. But we've got to understand that brick wall is only accomplished with letting go of our doubts, letting go of our attachments. What triggers your fears right now are your doubts. And I will tell you this, I don't care what you tell me, I know you could do it. Why? Because your want came from your subconscious mind. Everything happens by exact law. What we have to do is let go of our doubts. If I can do it, you could do it. If Joe can do it, you could do it. But we've got to be strong enough to make a definite decision. This is how I'm going to live no matter what. And your program, your old paradigm is going to say, who do you think you are? Say, I don't know who I think I am. I just know where I'm going. My mind is on my goal. And I am going to reject all ideas that come from my old conditioning. And the second you do that, you open the space to the good you desire. The second you open the space. See, we've got to start understanding we're all practicing repetition every day. But to change a program, we've got to fall in love with repetition, because the repetition of what we want is going to be who we become. But look at this right now. If I asked you right now, what is the number one thing that holds people back? Now, a lot of people would give me a lot of different answers. There's only two things you must know to create great wealth. You have to know where you are and where you're going. That's the only two things. It's so simple and so obvious. Why are so many people stuck? They can educate you on what a paradigm is, but they don't understand it. If they understood it, they'd do something about it. See, what happens is, instead of focusing on where you're going, instead of pivoting forward and transforming your life, people are stuck where they are. They're only going off of their five senses. I want to earn 100,000 a month. Oh, look at my results. I'm just going to get by. You never settle for mediocrity. You've got to make that part of your philosophy. But if I'm always looking at where I am, I'm always going to create the same results I've always created. And that's why people stay stuck, because their paradigm gets them to only look at where they are. They never bet on themselves. They never go all in, because they got to protect themselves. What if it doesn't work? I don't want my spouse to think it's not going to work. I don't want to tell them what I'm doing, or my friends. See, you got to stop worrying about what other people think. You got to go decide on creating the life you want. A life of freedom is your birthright. But understand, discipline is going to free you up. Discipline in making decisions every day, the little decisions compounded over time, is going to free you up and bring harmony into your life. Let go of all the resistance. But to create a new world-class paradigm, your mindset must be stronger than your emotions. You are not your emotions. Let your emotions go. Understand they're telling you a story of what you've accepted. And if it's a bad emotion, let it go. Let it go. Our mindset always has to be stronger than our emotions. Now, I want you to make a decision with me today. I want you, just for today, to make every decision not based on what's going on in your results. I want you to make every decision not based on circumstances, but where you see yourself in the future. I want you to tell me in the chat if you're committed to doing that. Do you realize it's a start that stops most people? If you're willing to do that just for today, you could repeat that tomorrow and again, and everything's going to change. Are you willing to commit to create the life you want? It starts with today. It starts right now with where your commitments are. Now, if we're going to change our results, we have to understand how we change our paradigm. This is your mind. This is you again. This is your conscious mind, subconscious, and body. Now, what is creating your environment? What's in your intellect. See, what we've got to understand is we have five senses: hear, touch, taste, smell, and see. And those senses are not for you to make decisions from. They're for you to experience life, for you to enjoy life. But most people are making decisions and saying, well, I don't see the results, so I'm going to retreat back. And you never want to retreat. See, you've got to understand, you have these higher faculties. These are your superpowers that's going to change your results. They're going to change your environment, your memory, your perception, your will, your imagination, your intuition, and your reasoning faculty. Now, most people have no idea what they are. Even the people who study this, if they don't practice them every 30 days, they're not going to get stronger. But your higher faculties are what's creating your results. Look at these. Your memory, you can think about anything you want from your past and you activate your memory. What I want you to do is start using this for you, where you look at all the successes and you go right back into the vibration of those successes every time you do it. I always think about when my first, when you have a child for the first time, there's nothing to prepare you for it. I never felt gratitude like that. So whenever I visualize, I think about when my kids are born and I go back into that vibration right away. That's my memory. Your reasoning is your ability to think. That's how we accept and reject ideas. Your perception is your ability to bulletproof your attitude so you only see the good in everything. Your will is your ability to hold one idea on the screen of your mind without being distracted. Your will is what's going to create your great work habits. Your intuition is the sixth sense inside of you that you know that you know that you know and you trust it. And your imagination, I said it earlier, it's the greatest tool that we have. It doesn't matter to your subconscious mind what's real or what's imagined. It only knows what you give it. Now imagine if you practice one of these every day for 30 days, what that would do, and then keep doing it. Every 30 days, just keep doing it. And you're going to strengthen your superpowers because that's what's creating your results. Your program is created by how you're using these higher faculties. And once you start using them for you and internalizing your goal, you've created a new program, got the result. But understand this, there is a difference between wishing for a thing and being ready to receive it. No one is ready for a thing until they believe they can acquire it. The state of mind must be belief, not mere hope or wish. Open-mindedness is essential for belief. I'll ask somebody, I'll say, well, do you believe it? They say, yes. And I said, then why aren't you doing the actions? And they freeze. They don't believe it. See, if you're not doing the actions, you don't believe it. If you are doing it timidly, you don't believe it. See, we've got to build belief. And I'm going to show you this slide over and over again. But belief is not positive thinking. It's an unwavering belief in our potential. It's a self-image that aligns not with where you are, but where you're determined to be. And I want you to accept your goal right now that it is done. The outcome is done before we start. Now we just have to do the repetition of what we just worked on rewiring ourselves. And when you do that, everything changes. But until the program changes, nothing changes. When the programs stay in control of you and you're letting the outside dictate how you feel, nothing is going to change. We have to change the program. How do you do that? You do it with the right processes. I gave you a process that will knock it out if you do it every 3 hours for the next 90 days. It'll literally knock it out. What else changes the program? Action. Nothing, the laws can't start working in your favor until you start acting. Action is critical to changing your program. But you have to understand the foundation. We have to fall in love with your future. If you're timid about the future, if you're playing it safe, there's no chance for you to change your program. There's no chance for me to do it. Are you in love with your future? Now, do you have a vision that inspires you? I want you to build your vision today. I want you to build a vision from now until the end of the year that is going to be something that you're so in love with. And understand and ask yourself, what vision do I have for my life? And right now, if it's a blank screen, you're not thinking. You're not co-creating your life right now. You're doing it unconsciously. I want you to write a vision that you're proud of, a vision that inspires you. And that's what's going to change the game. But understand, goals are your vision of the future, which we're going to get into, I believe, tomorrow. But number one, we have to fall in love with the future. We design it. This is your blank canvas. And I want you to design your life masterpiece. Write it in the present tense, exactly how you want it to be. And then your job is to go be the actor and play the part all day long. And most people have fears of the future. That's why they accept lesser goals. We're not kept from a world-class life. We're only kept because we're accepting mediocrity. We've got to stop accepting and settling for mediocrity in our life. And if you're fearful of the future, you're going to be shrinking all the time. You're going to be losing out on one opportunity after another. I was telling Mikey a few weeks ago, it might be about a month now, and I said, how many opportunities do you think are missed because of people's fears? And I was like, I think around the world, it's probably millions every day. But then you got that one person who's like, I have guts. I'm going to go for it. I don't care if I fail. And go after the opportunities. The price is always easy if you made the irrevocable committed decision. Count on your ability to design your future. Bet on yourself. And when you do, everything changes. But right now, in this present moment, you're creating your future. The present is meaningless unless you're connected to a future you're excited about, a future you're inspired about. It's the future that dictates what decisions you make in the present. And understand, vision isn't enough. We've got to build mindset. You've got to get the direction. You've got to understand mindset. I always say this, most people don't even know what mindset means. I'm going to define it for you guys all this week. But let's make a commitment that we're going to set goals that are worthy of you, that are so big that inspire you to get out of bed in the morning, that you can't achieve it until you grow in to the person who can. Well, that's it for today. But understand, today, I was telling Mikey and Monica before we started, today is such an important day because that's where the real work starts. That's where the foundation is built. And then I'm going to tell you tomorrow's important, because it is. Tomorrow is damn important. We've got to build standards and goals that are worthy of you. But I will tell you, we're going to give you a great week. But you've got to play with us. You've got to be all in. And when you are, you're going to change your life. We have success stories over and over again doing it. But I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn it over to my great friend, Monica DeMarin. I always brag about Monica so much. I love her so much because everyone in Voss is a family, number one. But Monica and I have been at each other's side working together for so long. And I have such admiration for the guts this woman has and the ability to keep practicing the craft and practicing the philosophy. So I'm going to turn it over to my good friend, Monica, and I highly recommend you do exactly what she tells you.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Arash. That was incredible. So much was covered today, but I want to really dial in on life philosophy and vision, because that's today's homework is going to be reflected in these two areas. When Arash is talking about life philosophy, it's so important to understand we all have that infinite potential, but potential doesn't mean much unless we really unleash it. So when we are creating our new life philosophy, you want to really think outside of that box. You cannot let your old programming dictate how you want to live. Your life philosophy is your code of ethic. You want to create a new life philosophy, but you have to decide right now how you want to live moving forward without letting anything on the outside dictate whether or not you can create that. You have to work with this limitless attitude. Your life philosophy determines where you're going in life, the direction you're going to take. And I love how Arash talked about it earlier. We get to reshape our entire life philosophy. So once you get clear on how you want to live, your new life philosophy, then you can create the standards. Okay, now you want to implement these standards. This is where you draw a line in the sand with your new life philosophy and your brand new standards, and you're saying no to everything that does not meet this new life philosophy. And you say yes to everything that meets this brand new vision for you. And then with the pairing with the vision is literally how you want to see your future, right? Fall in love with your future. Make it really exciting. Make it very thrilling for yourself. Make it a love story. Write that really big in your notes. Make your vision, your new life philosophy, a love story. Bring passion into your vision. And passion has been one of my core words since starting here many years ago. I want to bring passion into everything I do. Passion is this inner fire that drives us to express who we really are. Bring passion into your vision. Bring passion into your new life philosophy. Create with purpose. Okay, I wrote that down really big. I want you to create with purpose. I want you to create with intent. There's a great quote that I've been studying It's by Neil Diamond Walsh. And he says, if you have no passion for nothing, you have no life at all. And it's true. So remember, you're constantly in the act every day of creating yourself. In every moment, each decision you make, you're deciding who and what you want and who and what you want to become. So you want to feel passionate about this. You want to get really thrilled with the future and fall in love with all of that is going to be happening along the horizon. And then we want to bring all of this into the present tense, which I'm going to teach you how to write this out today. In the homework for this week and today, the homework is going to install the lesson. So treat it with urgency. The exercises are going to make the shift on the inside. So become great at following through. You're already here listening to the lesson. I want you to create the homework with a lot of urgency and do it right away. So when you're doing your lesson, I'm always telling everybody, do it from your most empowered self, not from the person who you are right now. I want you to think and feel from your most empowered self while you're doing the homework. So you build that confidence while you're stretching your thinking. You're building more confidence as you're challenging yourself to stretch into that new life philosophy. So doing the homework in this way is going to really implant the lesson for today. So going through these lessons, I want you to have a certain intent and integrity, okay? Now, intention is frequency of thought. So we all have a certain intent every day here at Boss. Every day, we are going to be the best versions of ourselves. We are going to give the greatest amount of value to all of you guys. So that's a certain amount of intent. I want you to have intent for the exercises and every day coming with us to share these lessons this week. So when you mix intent with integrity, you create this wholeness inside of you. So with integrity is when you give yourself a command, you're going to follow through. That's holding firm to the word that you're going to give yourself. You're going to build confidence in that way. And the real work, like Arash said, comes in the now, not 6 months from now. It's coming from here right now. So for today's homework, there's 2 parts, okay? Step 1 is to write out your top 5 philosophies, how you want to be in your life, your top 5 philosophies. And there was some great examples that Arash gave, like beating my personal best, everything I touch turns to gold. There's always something I can do. Study the people that you admire. Make decisions not based on your current circumstances when you're writing out your new life philosophy, but only who you want to be. And it's going to require you to think outside of your box. So that's step 1. Step 2 is to write a vision of the present tense of you have already achieved what you want to achieve by the end of your by the end of this year, excuse me. So when you're writing your vision, you want to write it out in the present tense that you've already achieved it. But I want you to write it out in your income, your relationships, in your health as a leader, financially. Like, where do you want to be a year from now? Write it out in the present tense. And when you're defining these 2 things, I want you to see it in your mind's eyes. It's really important here. That's a certain intent right now. Like, I want you to see it in your eyes, mind, that you have already achieved this goal. So when you write these out, I want you to embody that version. Your subconscious mind immediately will go to work as you start writing it out. That's really cool. It'll already start to go to work for you. And then we want you to carry this throughout the entire day. So the magic is really in how you see yourself. It's the inside game. Fall in love with that. Your soul's only desire is to turn your biggest vision of yourself into an actual experience. So that's what your soul is craving. So we want to spend a lot of time with that new vision and new life philosophy. So before I hand this to Mikey, I do want to mention we have a team of incredible coaches that have been trained by Arash and myself to help you significantly throughout this entire week. Be sure to reach out to a coach if you have any questions. We are going to walk you through this entire week. I'll hand this back to you, Mikey, right now. So she's going to go over some logistics with you before we close out today.
Of course, I'm still muted. All right. Thank you, Monica, and thank you, Araj. If you are fired up, let's hear it for both Monica and Araj in the chat. You know, the first day of one of our 5-day events sets the tone for the entire week. It lays a really solid foundation, and then every other day is going to build upon today and get better and better. And so you are in for a real treat. This week is going to be a lot of fun, but we're also going to cover a lot of ground and get a lot done. in simplifying success for you. So a couple of things that I want to mention. I do want to touch on what Monica just said about our incredible coaches here at Boss Coaching Co. We have a really high standard for all of our coaches. We know how important it is and how precious it is walking alongside you with on your journey to success and to your goals. And so we take great pride in our coaches and how exceptional and extraordinary they are. If you would like to talk to Monica or one of our other coaches, Jeff or Marcelo, go ahead and click the Speak with a Coach button. It's under the resources. So that's how you schedule that call. Now, there is going to be a replay available. You'll get an email from Zoom probably in about an hour with the replay to access it on Zoom. We'll also be sending a full recap and replay to your email later today that you can access. And you're going to have access to the replay from this entire week until next Friday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. So make sure that you take full advantage of that. And now I would like to invite all of you to join us again tomorrow, same place, same time, 12 p.m. Eastern for day 2 of Success Simplified. We are so happy to be spending the week with you, and I hope we'll see you tomorrow live. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.